Hello and welcome everybody to today's training session on Amazon FBA. My name is Jansen Smith and I'm super pumped to be presenting to you all today on the 5 simple steps to help you make over 20,000 a month on Amazon using a little business strategy called Amazon FBA. So let's just get you guys as pumped as possible and run through what we're going to be covering today. We've got a lot of good stuff to cover, a lot of value being dropped. So what is the presentation going to contain? Well, we're going to talk about how thousands, hundreds of thousands of people all around the world are leveraging Amazon's seriously impressive amount of growth in order to create 6-figure income streams using something called Fulfillment by Amazon, also known as Amazon FBA. So I'll be running through what that is in detail and why it's amazing news for everybody that's watching today's training session. We'll also be covering how you can have your own customized products made to your exact specification for as little as $1,000, like the process to follow there. And as part of the entire training, we're actually going to be using a real life case study of mine. So it's my 5-step strategy that I followed to discover a product, to source it, and then to launch it on Amazon, and ultimately resulting in an additional 6-figure income stream. And that particular product that I did all of that with was last year. So everything that I'm going to be talking about is super relevant. Within that case study, I'll be revealing the different methods that 7-figure sellers are using right now to find products, including a little cheeky one that involves getting other people to do the research for you for free. We'll also be running through how you can source and then vet suppliers to make sure you don't get anybody that's looking to rip you off or just provide you with a rubbish quality product. And we'll be running through how you can get your product to stand out from all of your competition and to sell to Amazon customers. Within that presentation, just to help you guys get kick-started, I'm also going to be giving you 5 different product niche ideas that you can look into and consider selling or just use when you're doing your product research. So hopefully that is already starting to get you very pumped. Now, everything that I'm going to be talking about today is super important and it's all being put in the presentation for a reason. There's no fluff. It's all there to provide as much value as possible. But why is it more important than ever to listen to what I'm talking about and to consider Amazon FBA as a serious business opportunity? Well, regardless of where you are in the world, it doesn't matter now what country you're from, you'll know that interest rates are going up, inflation's going up, the cost of living is increasing, affordable things are becoming unaffordable if they aren't already at that point. And there's also a big kind of buzzword at the moment going around, isn't there? AI, artificial intelligence, is making more and more people lose their jobs or threatening them, resulting in redundancy. So all of those things combined just means that it's never been more important than today than to find a way to give yourselves an additional income stream as a form of protection from your current state of living and your current job and so on. So this was the only picture that I could kind of find as a way to protect yourselves. So we're going to be running through today how you can effectively build your own Amazon FBA business in order to protect yourselves from all of those external factors, increasing costs, AI, and so on and so on. Now, if you haven't come across me before, I will forgive you. Here's a very quick introduction to myself. So my name is Jansen. Originally, I am from the UK and I do live in London for most of the year. I moved across to New Zealand in October to have a little baby boy, and really upsettingly, I'm going back to the cold UK next week. So whilst you might be jealous of the nice sunny background behind me, if you can see it, just be smug that I'm going back to 1 degree next week. But in any case, I'm originally from the UK and in 2017 was working a high stress job in the banking sector. Felt like I needed to relieve myself of those stresses and discovered Amazon FBA. And since then, I've grown to generate over 7 figures. I've sold over 200,000 units to customers all around the world with 2 brands that I created. And I'm going to be telling you exactly today the roadmap that I followed to do that. I am incredibly passionate about Amazon FBA, not just selling on it, but also teaching it, talking about it. There hasn't been a single day, I'd say, since 2018 where I first came across it, or late 2017, where I haven't thought about it. So incredibly passionate. And I did sit down and work out how many hours I've spent just thinking and doing Amazon related activities. And it's well over 4,000 hours. So is that impressive or is that sad? I don't know. I think it's a bit in between, isn't it? Now, before we kind of run through the opportunity, what Amazon FBA is and so on, I do just want to do a very quick recap of my journey with Amazon FBA. And that's not to show off or anything like that. It's just to show you what can happen in a very short amount of time with this business model. Now, by the way, guys, this is very much live. If you do have like questions, comments to throw at me, please do use the chat box and I will put it, it'll go into Q&A section and I'll try and answer it as best I can. We've got a Q&A section towards the end of the presentation. But yeah, do feel free to engage with me as much as possible, as long as it's nice, of course. So my journey in December 2017, as I mentioned, working in a very high stress job, unhappy, anxious, and just looking for an opportunity to relieve myself of those feelings. So came across Amazon FBA amongst a ton of other business models and just fell in love, loved the idea of selling products online, creating something and making money as a result. So I thought, do you know what? It was a cold night in December. I thought, I'm going to start this journey tomorrow. I'll start watching YouTube videos. I'll just learn how to do it myself. Guess what happened? Despite the best of intentions, 5 months later, May 2018, I hadn't done anything. You know, life got in the way. I kept making excuses. I was like, oh, I don't really know where to start searching on YouTube. Don't know what to do. I'll save it for next week, right? So 5 months later, the level of stress in my job just peaked. And I thought, Jansen, you've got to do something here, mate. So I enrolled onto like a coaching program, got a mentor, and I made this post in a Facebook group. And I said, I've been watching Amazon videos for a while. I've decided to finally take the plunge and enroll, and posted a bit about my motivations. And then this last bit here, seriously excited to start my journey. I'm going to set up a YouTube soon in a few weeks to document things. That post there, I'm not kidding. I completely like credit to the fact that I stayed so accountable and actually did Amazon FBA and documented my entire journey on YouTube. You know, YouTube is hard. Filming yourself, talking to yourself for half an hour at a time and uploading and seeing, you know, at the very beginning, very few people watch. But it was things like that, taking action, that actually made me consistent and continue doing it. So May 2018 is when I would say my real day zero was with Amazon FBA and where I actually took it seriously. And look how quickly things start to progress once I was like, right, I'm 100% doing this. So June, a month later, I found a product to sell. A month after that, I ordered 1,000 units for $3,500. A month after that, those units arrived at Amazon's warehouse and I started to sell. And I thought, I'll be happy if I sell, 10 units a month, something like that. I just want to sell, right? I could not believe it. Here is a picture of my first week's worth of sales. You can see in one single week, I did about $1,200 worth of revenues, which was insane. I was doing these sales to complete strangers across the country and I just couldn't believe it. And from that point, I was hooked. I was like, this is it. Amazon FBA, selling products online. That's for me. But little did I know how quickly things were going to continue to progress, right? So September, this is about a month after I first started to sell, I completely sold out of that first order. So sold 1,000 units, which was crazy because I was only expecting to sell, 10 as a minimum. So to do that in a month blew my mind. And I was like, right, need to order more. So here's a picture, I think, of, this is my second week of sales. And you can see in week 2, bearing in mind I was a complete beginner, had no experience and not creative in the slightest, was able to create a brand, sell a product on Amazon that was generating like $5,500 in revenues with a 20% profit margin in my second week of selling. Can you imagine how amazing that felt? So if we now fast forward, after that point, I reordered. At Christmas, I managed to get another entire batch in for an even bigger amount. And I sold out and made $20,000 in profit. And at that point, I was like, right, I need to refine my kind of steps to finding a product, to launching and so on. and I need to keep doing it. So throughout 2019, I continued to launch more products. I had a record Christmas just after 1 year of selling. So did there around £70,000, $80,000 in revenues. That was I believe that was with 3 products actually. And then just continued to do the same over and over again. So by May 2020, so about 2 years after my official day 0, I'd hit 750,000 in total sales. July 2021, I was approached by an investor that wanted to buy my Amazon business, and we're going to be talking about that in a short moment. And that leads me to today, where I've basically become a 7-figure seller. I've got 2 brands, over 20 products. This was one of my record months, $170,000 or $200,000 in a single month. And that was with just 2 of my brands, right? How amazing is that? And I did all of that from the same starting point that you guys are today, right? No prior e-com experience. And I was rubbish at art, design, the lot, okay? The beauty of Amazon FBA is it's very formulaic. You just have to follow certain steps that I'm going to be talking about today, execute them well, and provided you do that, you should see great levels of success, right? So I basically started as a complete beginner. This is my little recap. I then grew after 4 months of selling to be able to generate this. And then after 18 months of selling, I'd grown to become a 7-figure seller with 2 global brands. Now, guys, this is one of my first questions for all of you today. I just want to try and engage with you as much as possible, just to make sure that you're listening too. Within my first 3 months of selling on Amazon with my own products, I'd made $20,000 in profit. Now, how many businesses out there do you reckon are able to profit at all in their first year, let alone in their first few months? I can see already we've got some very keen people. Correct. It's very, very few. If you think about the huge, big corporations out there like Uber, Snapchat, even Amazon, when they first started, they never made a profit for years. I think Uber is still loss-making. So is Deliveroo, and so on and so on, right? And how many of those businesses that you've got in your minds to do with that you think could be profitable in their first few months? So like Harry saying 0.1%. How many do you think are able to make that profit with no overheads, no staff, and no rental costs, and to be able to kind of generate that profit in the background, right? So as I mentioned a moment ago, I am in New Zealand, right? My business is UK based. You can do this Amazon FBA business model wherever you are in the world. You can sell in the US, you can sell wherever, right? So in New Zealand, as I mentioned, it's 11:15. If you wouldn't mind just blowing me up a little bit, please, moderator, if we can kind of just show the number of sales I've made today. So you can see 100, if that'll focus, 162 sales have come through today. I haven't done anything. It's been happening in the background, right? I haven't been getting someone to go to the post office on my behalf or whatever. I've just woken up like a couple of hours ago, looking after my little boy and just, enjoying life, basically. That is the beauty of this business model. Once it's up and running, you can just go around, enjoy your day and refresh your phone. You'll become addicts to the phone app. It is a serious addiction, refreshing that bad boy. Now, if you're thinking, all right, yeah, all well and good, but it's probably just you, Jansen. Maybe you've got some magical formula. Honestly, I promise you, I don't. It's not just me with a similar story. Here we've got a Gaz who is a member of my coaching program, and he said, my stock just arrived at Amazon. Better get my head around advertising. He was a complete beginner. His day 0. After 3 months of selling, he'd cracked 20,000 in sales. I actually think he had a 25% profit margin. And you can see here, this is why I really like people to add their stories in Facebook groups to keep them accountable and just to motivate others. He said he left the army 10 years ago, and since then he was looking desperately for financial freedom, wanted to work for himself, but just never knew how to do it or to find the courage. And he wanted to hang out more with his 2-year-old son that he just found out was autistic. And he basically said this business model allowed him to do exactly that, and he couldn't be more grateful. And do you know what the amazing thing is? His growth didn't stop there, right? After 6 months of selling, look at that, he cracked 100K. And he's put here as a highlight, this is with just one product that he started at the end of December, right? How amazing is that? So cool. We've also got Neha that did, very similar stories. So she did a post on her day 0 with her story and her motivations. After 2 months of selling, she was able to crack 10K. After 12 months, 100K, right? It's just incredible. Amazon gets such a high amount of traffic, and we're all able to benefit from that, provided that we execute all of the steps that I'm going to be talking about today as best as we can. Then Sam, who posted this on Twitter or X, he said after his first month of building his own brand on Amazon, he was the fastest 10K in my coaching program. He got an offer from a retail store to stock his product, and he placed a second order with his supplier. It's crazy how fast things can progress with Amazon FBA. You can literally change your lives in very small amount of time, less than a year. You can't do that really with any other business model without incurring significant expense. We've also got Daniel, who after 2 months of selling, he managed to crack 10K. We've got Sally, a complete beginner, who did a post to say, my goods are being collected by UPS. 2 months later, she did another post talking about how she'd achieved 10K. After 8 months, she cracked 100K. So I'm hoping, guys, that all these stories here and all these pictures motivates you. Do not think negatively here and think, I haven't got experience. I don't know anything about products. I don't know anything about sourcing. I'm going to be teaching you all today, right? This is a really good one that I wanted to show you. Adam was on one of these AMZScout training sessions with me, and he decided to come on board. He wanted to be coached by me, and you can see here the results. He said, my initial goal to hit 10K was 90 to 120 days, and he did it in just over 50. Awesome. And here's some more pictures of people with all these lovely awards that I give out to people that have, built brands on Amazon and achieved amazing things. So there's absolutely no reason why all of you watching today can't do the same this year. Like, honestly, it's all to do with the mindset. Provided that you've got that positive attitude and you're willing to put in the work, you can be in a very similar position to everyone that I've spoken about today within, a matter of months. So who is starting to get excited? Give me a 1 in the comments if you're pumped, paying attention, and you want to learn more about the opportunity and my 5-step blueprint that I've been putting together and refining over my 5 years of selling now. So awesome. I can see lots of comments from people coming through, and I will address all of those as we go through the presentation, probably towards the end, just so people can make sure they're getting some serious tips beforehand, and some of those questions might be answered too. So let's just quickly cover why now. Like, why now is the perfect time to be building your brand on Amazon, in addition to those points I spoke about earlier, like rising costs, AI, and so on. Well, it's no secret, is it, that high street retailers are struggling wherever you are in the world, US, Australia, Asia. I think maybe some of these companies might appear there. You'll know that the high street is struggling, isn't it? A lot of these names here have gone bust, or they're about to go bust, because they've made one fatal mistake, which is not adapting to the online marketplace, right? I think a lot of retailers, for some stupid reason, just slept on the opportunity and didn't migrate quickly enough to selling online. Now, these statistics here blew my mind when I was preparing for this presentation, right? So 2019, prior to the pandemic, internet sales as a proportion of total retail sales, so everything being bought, was just 14%, which really surprised me, because even before the pandemic, I did all of my shopping online. Did you guys? Give me a yes if you used to do a lot of shopping online before the pandemic. But the stats don't lie. We were the minority. If you're answering yes, I can see a few yeses coming through, which is crazy. I guess more people in 2019 felt comfortable just buying things in real life. So then the pandemic happened, didn't it? Stores were forced to shut, and in a way, people were kind of forced to purchase products online. So that stat there, the proportion of sales out of total that were from the internet, that jumped about 50% to 1 in 5. Still quite a minority. Actually, guys, it's so interesting this, because I can see some people saying, no, they bought more in retail stores. Surprising, eh? This is why I really engaging with you, just to kind of learn, because I must be in, the minority. Well, I clearly am. Some of us are anyway. So 1 in 5, 20%, still quite low, isn't it? Well, now the guys think that by next year, it's going to be around 1 in 4. That should say 2025 there. So 25% of all sales will be on the internet, and still 75% is going to be like down the high street in retail stores. Now, what does this tell us, and why should it get you really excited? Well, the answer is that the online shopping trend is upwards, isn't it? It's not going down, it's not going sideways, it's going upwards. But the most important thing is that there's still tons of growth left to come. So next year, 25% of sales are going to be on the internet. The rest is retail. That means that the year after, it's going to be higher. The year after that, even higher, and so on. And it's going to continue for a long, long time. One of the biggest questions that I get from people is it too late to sell online? Is it too late to, launch products on Amazon? And the answer is no. More and more people are continuing to shop online. They're getting the confidence and they're starting to prefer it. And especially when you have things like Amazon Prime, like same day or next day delivery, it makes shopping from home just so easy, doesn't it? Now, which company do we think hugely benefits from the fact that more people are shopping online? Which company that we're here to talk about today? Give you a little clue. Let me know who's going to be the first to reveal the answer. Yeah, that is correct. It is indeed Amazon. So Amazon, we all know and love it. And it's the main beneficiary of the fact that people are shopping online more and more. Now, again, I'm full of stats today, aren't I? This is another really interesting fact. 25% of online shoppers, they go straight to Amazon, right? So if they think, right, I need to buy a water bottle today, go on the internet, go onto Amazon, right? 25%, that's huge. And in my opinion, that's a lowball figure, right? Because if you look, most people just head to Google. So you can see about half, can't you? But what happens when you go to Google? You type in posture corrector, you type in water bottle, whatever, Amazon's at the top. So people are ending up on Amazon by the shed load. That 25% there, like if we were to say what proportion of people actually buy on Amazon out of total, it's going to be way higher than that 25% because Google is pointing them there, right? And the reason that Amazon has just seen so much success is because it's got an awesome brand. People know it as a marketplace that is super easy to purchase from. You can buy something, you can get it the same day, you can get it next day, and the choice is incredible. And everybody here today watching, me, everyone else that's an Amazon wannabe seller, we're all being given a huge opportunity to be able to benefit from this through this fulfillment by Amazon business model. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are kind of familiar with what Amazon FBA is, but in a nutshell, it's basically where Amazon allows you to sell on their website without actually having to do any of the fulfillment. So you send a product that you want to sell to an Amazon warehouse, which they will tell you how to do. Amazon will then receive your product and they'll store it for you, and it will then become available on their website. If a customer then goes online and types in water bottle, posture corrector, whatever, and they see your listing and they buy, you don't need to do anything. Amazon will go and pick it from the warehouse, they'll pack it, they'll post it, and then they'll deposit the money into your account, right? That's what I've been doing. That's how I've managed to sell like close to 180, 200 sales today by being in New Zealand. My business is in Europe. It's awesome. It's incredible. Now, why should Amazon FBA really, really excite you if it isn't already making you go, wow, this sounds fantastic? Well, we've just spoken about how Amazon is expected to keep growing exponentially because more people are shopping online. It's something that allows you to partner with a trusted brand and start making sales immediately. You saw from my sales snapshots earlier, I was making like $5,000 worth of revenues in my second week, and I'd started from scratch, right? If I was doing that myself on my own website, no way in hell could I have been able to do that. But with Amazon, it's absolutely possible. And the beautiful thing about shoppers that go to the Amazon website is they're ready to buy. They've got the card in the hand and they're like, I just need to find out who to buy from. So because of that, sales conversion is called. So the number of people that log on and buy is 1 in 5 people versus a random e-com store where it's about 1 in 20, right? But above all, you don't need to store your product at your house. You don't need to hire your own warehouse. or worry about going to a post office. It all happens in the background. You can run this business anywhere in the world, and you can choose what marketplace you want to sell in, right? I'm in New Zealand at the moment. I'm selling in the UK. I'm selling in Europe. If I want to suddenly start selling in the US, in Australia, it's the click of a button. That's it. And then you just get your supplier to send the products to Amazon's warehouse. So I can see lots and lots of people are starting to get super, super excited. Above all, though, like I said before, the party's just getting started. I'm hoping this is you now. Online shopping is honestly still in its infancy. Whether you think it or not, you know, we've seen the statistics. Most people are still shopping like on the high street. So the number of people that are going to start learning about how to buy online as kind of younger people grow up and become, you know, get bank accounts and so on, that proportion is going to grow. It is just getting started. So one of the comment that I do sometimes get is, are you sure it's not just like huge corporations, big businesses with hundreds of thousands of dollars that are seeing success on Amazon? Well, the answer is no. It's hundreds of thousands of people, just like me, just like Gaz, just like Nehar, everybody that I showed you earlier. And those people, me included, what we're doing is we're generating serious profits on Amazon by utilizing Amazon FBA, that fulfillment model, and combining it with something called private labeling. And that is kind of my business strategy specialism, right? So what is private labeling, I hear you ask? Well, basically, that is where you sell like an established product, just say like this coffee cup that doesn't have any branding on it, and you just get your manufacturer to put your brand on it, right? And that is pretty much all there is to it. And you also are able to customize anything to do with the product. So the color, the packaging it comes in, the instructions, and so on. You're able to make it yours, right? You could even change the shape, the size, or whatever if your supplier allows it. Now, this private labeling business model is fantastic because it allows you to work with manufacturers on already established products and say that they're your own. Effectively, you don't need to invent a brand new product. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on research and development and so on. It's super, super simple. And, you know, this private label business model, it's been around for years and years, but it's because of the internet that it's just suddenly become so accessible. You know, in the 90s, there were big manufacturers big companies making use of this, but because they like had connections already and they had tons of cash, it was only available to them. But now the internet means that the barrier to entry, the cost that you need to kind of incur to do this is super, super low, right? And I'm going to be telling you today how to do it. Now, you might also be thinking, I'm sure there are a lot of questions on your mind. Well, why would I want to do private labeling? Why not just sell this coffee cup with no branding on it? Studies have shown that having your own brand, private labeling, it's proven to create like an emotional connection with customers. It adds trust, it creates trust, and it adds authority. So, you know, the best example of that is like Apple. Those guys have, you know, what could be argued as like average computers versus others. But because of their branding, how cool they appear, and the fact that everyone's like, yeah, Apple products, they've got, you know, they just work and we can trust them. Because of that branding there that they've created, people buy their products by the shed load, don't they? And also creating a brand, it allows you to easily build a reputation. So people can go, oh yeah, Apple computers, they're great, as opposed to, oh, computers of that random, you know, name, Chinese name, I can't remember it. Like, it's going to be, the difference is going to be night and day, isn't it? But the points that, the main point that you should be most interested in over the long term is that creating a decent brand, it allows you to charge a premium for your product. And I'm going to show you an example of that in just a sec. Now, big investors out there are really starting to pay attention to people selling on Amazon. They've kind of seen how much money there is flowing through the Amazon platform. And in the nicest way possible, I'd say they're a little bit lazy. They don't want to build a brand from scratch. They just want to buy one and just kind of cheat. So big investors have kind of got, you know, funds pulled together and they're purchasing brands that are successful on Amazon. So there's an article here, the Amazon sellers who sold up and became millionaires. And as I mentioned earlier, I also had an investor reach out that says that we are a European company looking to acquire the best e-com brands that have a presence on Amazon. We're very interested in acquiring, and then named my brand, right? it's a great roadmap to like financial freedom, launching a product on Amazon, getting those monthly cash flows, and then building an asset that you can then eventually sell in as little as 18 months, 2 years, and so on. Now, as I mentioned, it is people that are making an absolute fortune with Amazon, in addition to companies, of course. But don't think that, just because you're an individual, you can't do this. You can. So these Chili's bottles are like insulated water bottles, started by two friends. And you can see from this picture here, which I'll explain in a moment, that they are making, look at that, 60,000 in revenues from one product, 64,000, another one that they've got. They're making absolute shed loads. Now, if you're thinking, what is this snapshot you've got here, Jansen? Well, let me introduce you to one of AMZScout's tools that they have. It's like an app, an extension that plugs into your internet browser, and it allows you to go to Amazon and search for any product that you like, press a button, and you can see how much money people are making, right? Amazon does actually kind of publish this information or a form of it. Most people don't know how to read it, but AMZScout have got a tool that interprets this data and basically tells you how much money they're making. It's awesome. And it's a lot of fun to use. If you're kind of a curious / nosy person, you can go onto it, press the button and be like, wow, these guys are making a ton. Now, these Chili's water bottles doing well over 100K in like monthly revenues. All they're doing is private labeling. So you can see here in the UK, they are selling the product for £20. Are they buying it for anywhere near that? No, they're not. I would say this price here of $2 is kind of at the high end. If they're selling, thousands and thousands of units, they'll be getting an even better price point. So that's all they're doing. You can even go onto one of the websites I'll talk about in a bit and type in insulated water bottle and find the exact bottle that they are selling, right? It's just private labeling. So I'm going to be running through the steps to follow in order to basically mimic my success, my students, and Chili's. And without a doubt, you're going to have questions on your mind like, I don't have a product to sell. I don't know what to sell. Don't worry. I was the exact same. But I'm telling you, if I can do this in 3 months of selling with no prior experience, which I can then grow to this in 5 months, so about 40,000 in US dollars, and then this in 1 year, which I've since grown to this. So look at this consistent growth. Despite the fact that I've been selling for a number of years, I'm still able to achieve 339% worth of growth, right? Did all of that from zero experience, zero knowledge. If I can do all of that, and so can thousands of others that I've coached, that I've helped, I promise you guys, so can you. It just needs you to sit down, just, stay focused, pay attention, and just implement the steps that I'm going to be telling you about. Well, okay. So give me a 2 in the comments if you're now super excited and you're ready to learn about the 5 steps to creating a successful Amazon FBA brand, right? I want to see lots and lots of twos, guys, because by the time we've finished these steps, all of those doubts there, once we've covered this 5-step strategy, they're going to be crossed out. And you're going to be like, sweet, I absolutely can do this. I absolutely can do it. So the 5-step strategy that we're going to be talking about is a real life case study that I've refined. The particular steps here are something that I implemented with one of my most recent products. So don't think that, it's just generic advice that's never been practiced. I can assure you everything I'm talking about today, I've done it. Exactly. Right. Throughout the presentation, we're also going to be covering like the doubts that you might have, the questions, just so I can address them. But if there's anything that I don't address, please do put them in the comments. I'm super pumped to see that we've got lots of 2s in here. I'm hoping none of you are all screaming out loud, especially those of you in Europe where it's quite late. But if you are, I'll forgive you because this is very exciting. So is Amazon saturated? The first question. Well, the answer is no, if you know what you're doing, right? My monthly figures after 3 months of selling this product that I'm going to be talking about with the case study got to this, 60,000. That was after just 3 months of selling, right? So this case study, it works, right? The first step of any Amazon FBA business when you're building a brand is finding the product, isn't it? Don't think, oh, I'm going to think of a brand name or a logo or whatever without knowing the product. That is my advice. But how do you go about finding a product? Like you are probably saying to yourself, I don't have a product. I don't even have an idea. Like, I'm not creative. I'm not thoughtful. Well, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, what we are looking for with a product to sell on Amazon is something that is already being purchased. It has demand from customers, right? But there's an opportunity for us to improve. When customers log on to Amazon, they've got their cards in their hand, they're ready to buy. They have a product in mind already, but they just don't know who they want to buy it from. That's where the opportunity comes from. We need to persuade them, right? But how do you know what products have demand on Amazon? Well, as I showed you earlier, there are little cheeky ways to see what the demand is using tools. And AMZScout has one called the Pro extension that just plugs into your browser. You log on, you press this button, and it tells you. So here, for example, I went onto Amazon.com. I typed in water bottle and I ran the tool and this appeared. And you can see if we break down each column, you've got the price of each seller on the first page. You've got the fees, and then you've got the net profit margin after Amazon's fees, right? You've also got the number of sales that each seller is making in units and in dollars. So this is crazy. Across the US, the top seller that was in kind of position 1 on the search page result, this is mental. Selling 42,000 units a month, over $1 million. It's mad, isn't it? You wouldn't think that many people would want a water bottle, but from one seller anyway, but they do. And the next person is selling 16,000. And then one further down from that, 25,000. Like, the demand on Amazon is crazy high. The pie is so big and there's enough for everybody to eat at the table. We've also got a number of reviews, which can be a good indicator of, how established a certain brand is, and the rating score, which can give you clues on whether a product can potentially be improved upon. Now, that's how you kind of assess the level of demand. But just because you kind of look at a product to sell on Amazon and you see there's demand, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good idea to sell. This is generally the criteria that I run through whenever I'm assessing whether a product's any good, whether it's worthwhile. So first of all, you want to make sure that the sales demand is roughly 3 times higher than your monthly profit goal. So if you want to make $1,000 profit per month, my guidance is times that by 3,000, and you want to make sure that people are generating at least $3,000 in revenues. And why do we want to do that? We want to make sure that there's enough demand for it to be worthwhile. We don't want to launch a product on Amazon and it just sits collecting dust, right? It's just not going to be very fun and you're just not going to make any money. The next thing is that, of course, the product needs to be profitable. We want to see that it's making a profit margin before ads of 30%. Why? Well, we're not just doing this for fun, are we? Even though it is a lot of fun, we want to make a profit so that we can enjoy it and so that our business gets its own value and we can then eventually sell it to an investor. Ideally, this isn't absolutely essential, but ideally it would be good if the product was smaller and lightweight. It just generally means that it's going to be cheaper to store, cheaper to ship, and cheaper for Amazon to fulfill, right? That isn't essential by any means, but for beginners, it can sometimes be a bit easier. Not fragile as well. We don't want to sell a product that is made of glass that's going to smash, because if it ends up with a customer in their hands and they hurt themselves or it's just broken, you'll get bad reviews and your business won't succeed. Again, that isn't absolutely essential, but if you're a beginner, it'll make things a little bit easier. We want the product to be brandable, so something that customers actually care is branded. So maybe coffee cups, like a disposable one, maybe that's not really a good idea for private labeling, because do customers really care that a disposable cup has got branding on it? Probably not. But maybe like an eco-friendly permanent one where they're like, oh, that's cool, I can use it every day, that it looks nice or whatever. Maybe that one can. So that's how you think about that aspect there. And then we also don't want something that's seasonal or a fad. We want to be making money all year round. So of those there, the ones that I've starred, those are like the essentials. Like there's no disagreement there. Every product needs to have it. Those other ones, that's just if you're maybe feeling a little less confident, you're an absolute beginner and you're just kind of wanting to make sure that the product's risk is a lot lower. But yeah, take a picture of that, guys, write it down. As I said, today's session, super amounts of value being dropped. So an example of a good product to sell, like fundamentally, is one of these like insulated water bottles, right? So they're small and lightweight. You can put branding on where customers actually care, sell all year round, strong amounts of demand, and so on. Now, the beauty about this business model is that we're able to confirm if a product that we found is a good product or a good idea to sell before we actually incur any expenditure, before we send a supplier any money. And you can do that with AMZScout's tools. So they have a bunch of tools, but the actual Pro extension that plugs into your browser, that will tell you sales demand. It will give you the profit estimate. It will give you sales history, so you can see if it's trending or not. It will give you a very quick understanding of the level of competition, and so on and so on. And it provides it all in a lovely little snapshot that basically says whether they think it's a good idea. Use that as a tool in your kind of tool belt. Don't just kind of look at that and go, oh, it says likely to succeed, but use it to help you with your analysis. And that's awesome, isn't it? Again, what business model can you do that with, where you're able to mitigate the level of risk, like huge amounts, before even spending any money? So we've covered now like what makes a good product and so on, but how do you actually find something to sell with Amazon? Do you just guess? Do you just, write down a list of products you recently bought? Well, you could do that, but there are easier ways, right? So you can use AMZScout. They have another tool, like a product database. That'll cover in a sec. You can browse Amazon's thousands of categories. You can go to trade fairs, look around the shops to see what people are buying. There's just so much, right? Provided that whenever you come across a product idea, you run through those criteria points that I spoke about a moment ago, it doesn't matter, right? But AMZScout, they have a product database that it's a little bit like Google. It's like a search engine, but of Amazon. And instead of showing you websites, it shows you product ideas. So this database has got over 600 million products on it, which is mad, isn't it? 600 million listings. And you can basically apply different pieces of criteria to refine that list. Otherwise, it would take you forever to go through. So when preparing for this presentation, I logged on, went to the database, and I said to AMZScout, show me products that are in the baby category. Just had a little baby boy, so quite interested to see what is selling. Please show me products that are priced between $50 and $30. Show me products that are, selling well at a minimum of $10,000 a month, and that have reviews of max 250, just so I can see whether there's like any newly established sellers within the niche. And this is what came up. Like, it took, 30 seconds, if that, to load. Now, this is what you need to do when you are shown product ideas. Always in the back of your mind, be running through those criteria points that I just spoke about a few minutes ago. Is it brandable? Is it small and lightweight? Has it got sales demand? And so on. So here you can see this column is showing you the sales demand. All of these do have lots and lots at a minimum of that 10,000. And I kind of had a look at the price point, and I had a look at the product for that first one. Now, I skipped it, and that was purely because it's clothing. I kind of think with clothing, it's quite subjective. People might get it and say, that looks different to what I thought. My baby doesn't look cute in it, or it's the wrong size, and they'll probably send it back. So I thought, I'll skip that. But this next product kind of caught my eye, okay? Baby nail file. The brand said Conservation. What does that mean? Just sounds like nonsense, doesn't it? Like a random name that a Chinese manufacturer's come up with. The revenue, $90,000, and they're doing that with just 6 reviews. And that really got my attention. And I thought, okay, let's have a look. So I literally just pressed the AMZScout button to go straight to the listing on Amazon. And I was kind of shocked, to be honest. If I looked at this listing, let me know if you agree. Put a 3 in the comments if you agree. It looks awful, doesn't it? It just looks like plastic tat. So that's kind of what set a little alarm bell off in my head. And I thought, okay, this could be worth more investigation. These guys are making thousands of dollars in profit with that listing and that product. This is really important, this next step. Whenever you find a product idea that you like the look of, don't just say, okay, it's got sales demand, we can go ahead with it. You need to make sure that others have sales demand too, because this could just be a really well-known brand, Conservation, that I don't know. And that would suck if they were the only brand in the niche doing any sales. Because if I launched the product and customers were like, no, we only want Conservations, then I'm not going to see success. So always, whenever you come across an idea, go back onto Amazon and just type in the name of the product. So here you can see I've typed in baby nail clippers. I've run AMZScout. And then I'm having a look at the sales demand, and I can see that it's not just Conservison that are making decent amounts. We've got people making $10,000, $30,000, and so on. My general rule of thumb is you want to see at least 5 sellers doing a decent amount. If it's any less, then it could indicate like brand dominance. But yeah, it's like not a strict rule, but it's just something to provide you guys with a little bit of guidance. So if we look here, you can just see I've blown it up. We can see lots of demand across the niche. So that's where you're kind of thinking, okay, I can consider this product a bit further. And then if we kind of step back, does this fundamentally make a good product? Well, yeah, the profit margin's good. I'll show you how to calculate that or how to check it in a moment. It's small and lightweight. It's not going to break in the post. It's brandable. This really is a product that would do well with a good bit of branding. And these guys just haven't done it. They haven't done it at all. Now, if you need some inspiration of other products that would fundamentally be a good idea, we're going to give you 5 now that you can look into later after this training session. You can run AMZScout to check the demand, and you can just use it to help you build your own Amazon business. So take snapshots on your phone, write them down, whatever. I guarantee you that some of these will be products that you've never even thought of or like kind of knew existed. So the first one is a shower phone holder. Why did the AMZScout team like this? Well, they saw there was lots of demand. You can see this model in particular has got, or this niche in particular has got $13,000 worth of demand a month. It's brandable. This is something that you absolutely can add your own branding to. And customers would probably care, probably given the fact that it's electronic and it goes into water, and it's lightweight, small, lightweight, easy to ship. We've also got a preserved rose with a necklace. So again, a product that I would never have thought of. It's got high amounts of revenue. The average across all the sellers in the niche was $15,000. Nice price point of $26. So that means the profit per unit is going to be attractive. If you assumed like a 20% margin, you're going to be making $5 a unit. And this is another big point that does make a good product. It's giftable, isn't it? So products that are giftable always do well at Christmas, maybe around Valentine's, for birthdays and so on. It helps kind of boost that consistent demand throughout the year. Mushroom lamp, again, something you just would never think existed. Lots of demand, $20,000 a month. There's room for improvement. When we looked at the reviews, we saw people complaining about the colors not being right, about the lamp breaking after a certain amount of time. So all things that you can improve upon. And again, it's giftable. Sea salt spray. Now, I kind of like this one. It's got lots of demand. It's brandable. But the reason that I thought this would be quite cool to do is it's a boring niche. And it's the boring niches that are sometimes the easiest to sell in, because lots of people will look at it and go, nah, that's boring. And that just presents you an opportunity to easily stand out and make sexy, right? I'm sure if you go onto Amazon and type in sea salt spray, you'll just get generic bottles looking like that. It just means that if you're thinking, I'm going to be really creative here and I'm going to, put my own spin on it and make it look really good, you're able to do that very easily. I did just see a quick question come through from Ianucci. I think you're a bit behind, but in any case, you said, shouldn't the profit margin be higher than 20% since Amazon takes 30% for fees and stuff? Yes, the 20% profit margin is after Amazon's fees. It's after all fees, just to point that out. The next product is the Boba Tea Plush. No idea what this is, but the data is pointing in the right direction. It has lots of demand, $11,000. You can customize it easily so you can stand out. It's giftable, and it had a nice profit margin of 20% after all costs. Now, if you want to get even more profitable ideas, you absolutely can. AMZScout does have their own company that does product research for you, and they'll produce a report, which I will show later on, that will basically, in fact, I might just quickly show it now, just so you can see, so it's all relevant. So I'm just going to share there we go. Hopefully you can see that. So you can get one of these reports from AMZScout that is tailored just for you, and they are really thorough. They'll tell you, different product ideas. I believe they give you 5, and they'll say how they found the product, what criteria they set, the product that they actually thought would be good for you to sell, why people want it, why they think it's a good idea. They'll do the research of suppliers. They'll tell you, exactly what it is that makes them think it's a good product for you to sell. Very, very thorough. This is just an example. So yeah, so that's the report there. So super, super valuable. If you're interested in that, we'll talk about it in a bit more detail later, but you can also search for Seller Hook on Google, AMZScout Seller Hook. But we've got a special offer later on that includes a report from Seller Hook, so stay tuned. Okay, so the second step in my 5 steps, so that's kind of the process that I generally thought of when assessing whether a product would be any good, and what I did to find, you'll find out in a moment, that particular product. The next step that you need to follow is sourcing the supplier, right? So if you don't know any suppliers, guess what? It doesn't matter. I started Amazon FBA, didn't know anybody outside of the UK, pretty much. But now because of it, I know people in China, India, everywhere. Like this, business model helps you to network so well. It's fantastic. But if you don't know any suppliers, don't worry. Nobody does. There are platforms out there that will introduce you to them. And the 3 most established are Alibaba. I'm sure a lot of you know that platform. It's a bit like an Amazon, but where suppliers list their products. DHgate, which is another China-based one, and IndiaMart, which is for India-based products. And you can either go to those websites and search for a product directly, or you can just go onto AMZScout, and when you were using this tool here, the product database, just press this little button and it will load it up. Or alternatively, when you're running your little spy tool, press local and global suppliers, and you can start filtering where you want your suppliers to be from, the US, China, wherever, and it will tell you who you can contact. But for this baby nail file, I was really intrigued by it. I thought, let's have a look who their supplier is. So I used AMZScout. It basically did an image search, and it found what I think is the exact supplier. And what does that show us? No effort. These guys are making a killing on Amazon, like so many people are, with just no effort. They're just not doing anything different, okay? They've probably just seen that picture and thought, yep, I'll have that. That'll do. And they're doing well, right? So as soon as you go onto one of these websites, if you find a supplier of the product that you want to sell, it's so easy to get in touch. You click into the listing, you have a look at the pictures and the description. And if you want to contact the supplier to get like a customized quote, you press that big orange button there that says contact supplier. Now, essential questions, again, some value for you here. Essential questions to ask supplier. Every single message that you send to people like manufacturers, make sure it includes these points here. So first of all, please confirm the per unit cost of the product we want to sell for 200 units, 500 units, and 1,000 units. And that will allow you to compare across different suppliers, and also helps you with negotiation because you kind of know the different price points that they charge. Please provide a quotation for air and sea shipping to an Amazon fulfillment center, wherever you want to sell, US, UK, Europe, and that will allow you to calculate your profit after Amazon fees and shipping costs. Please confirm the cost of a sample and how long it's going to take to arrive. This is not negotiable, this point. Always get a sample from a supplier so that you can assess the quality, see if they're legit, and see if they can actually produce what they claim to produce, right? If you don't do that, then you run the risk of ordering 500 units, 1,000 units, whatever. It turns up at the Amazon warehouse and it's tat, and you get bad reviews and you're not able to sell the units that you purchased. So samples shouldn't cost a fortune. You don't need to get them customized, but please guys, if there's one thing you take away from the supplier section, it's that. Make sure you get a sample. Now, this one is an absolute value bomb that I'm dropping here. So always say to the supplier as well, what other items do you sell? And what is your most popular selling item? Why do we do that? Helps us with product research, helps us to discover new product ideas. And that method, ladies and gentlemen, that is the one that I used to find the product that I ended up launching that generated me 6 figures, right? I said, what other products do you have? And they said, we actually have a brand new product coming out next month. It's not on Alibaba. No one really knows about it because it's only just finished being developed. Would you like a sample? And I went, hell yes, send it me now. So they did. I was first to market with that like product specific design. And that was one of the ways that I was able to get ahead of everybody else, right? So that's how you go about sourcing the product, the steps that you need to follow, the questions you need to ask. one of the most important points of this presentation that you take note of is that you need to differentiate the product that you end up selling, right? In order to succeed and become a top seller, you need to find an opportunity that you can improve upon so that you're able to stand out from your competitors. You can't just copy a Chili's water bottle and do the exact same. It just won't work, right? Maybe like 10 years ago, but not in 2024. You need to differentiate. And different ways that you can differentiate and make your product better and more improved. So you can change the product itself, offer a new design that nobody else is offering. You can include a complementary item with the products that you're selling. You can work on the listing and the branding and just make sure that it resonates with your customers and that it's better than your competition. Or you can just improve upon the product, its quality, its functionality, the way it looks, right? There's lots of different ways that you can make sure that you are different. Now, my advice is try and combine as many of those as you can so that you can really build a protective moat around you and ensure that your product has the level of success that you want it to. So with the case study, the product that I launched, how did I differentiate? Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, I found a new design. I asked the supplier. I had a good relationship with them. Like I spoke nicely to them and they gave me the idea, right? That's one way. The second way is I made a compelling brand. I didn't just go Conservation or just think of some random name, right? I thought of a brand name that would resonate with the customer and I devised a consistent brand story, something that the customer would look at and be like, that's believable. I want to buy from these guys. They obviously pros in this particular niche. I improved upon the Amazon listing. So I wrote in English that actually made sense. And I thought about the problems that my product solved. So I didn't just stuff in a load of random keywords. I wrote it to the customer. I wrote like sentences out to the customer and explained why my product was better. I had a high quality product, right? So that supplier that I ended up going with, they weren't the first. I made sure I got samples from them. I made sure that they actually did what they said they could do and so on. Don't just go with the first supplier or the cheapest. You have to make sure that the people that you're going to be paying to manufacture your products are decent. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in a sticky situation. Now, if you think, well, that sounds quite hard. Honestly, let's just do a real life example. It's easier than you might think. So if we go back to Conservation, look at the state. Look at the state of this. Like the branding sucks. There's no branding, is there? It says baby electric nail file. As I mentioned, I've had a little baby boy a few months ago. If someone gave me this as a present, I'd be like, thanks, but no thanks. Like it just looks cheap tat. Please, guys, give me a 4 in the comments if you agree, if you put this near your baby's fingers. Text on the right, solve the problems using electric nail file, and then just like some horrible pictures. It just looks like cheap and nasty, doesn't it? I can already see 4s coming through, so I'm delighted at that. So there you go, straight away, an opportunity to improve. And these guys are making a fortune. How easy would it be to make yourself stand out here and get customers to buy from you versus anybody else? Very easy, just from changing the listing, right? Now, one easy way of spotting an opportunity to improve upon the product, so one of those points that I just mentioned, is by looking through reviews of a product. So if we look through the baby nail file, I saw somebody say, this is great, but the only negative is I wish there were more baby discs in it. There are only 2. There you go. We can do bundling. We can add in 4 baby discs. We can make a nice brand. I don't know, I can't even think of a good name, but I'm sure I could do something better than Conservation off the top of my head. We can do better listing images, better description, just level up, right? And ultimately get the customer to buy from us versus those guys. And that is what I did with my product. So the 4th step is creating the offer, something that is attractive and gets people to just want to buy. And you do that by having an awesome Amazon listing. So the Amazon listing is basically something that comprises of the title, bullet points, and so on. And it's your opportunity to sell to the customer base, right? If they've clicked onto your title, they're interested because they've seen your picture, they've seen your price, and they know what you're selling. So that is where you've got 60 seconds to get the customer to go, I'm going to buy from these guys, right? And you need to do that by having an informative, persuasive, and compelling set of messaging, which you do through your pictures, your bullet points, and so on. Now, an example of a really good listing is Chili's, the water bottles here. You can kind of see, if you look at the title, it's nice and clean. It's very like clear what it is that's being sold and what the benefits are. We can see the bullet points down below: vacuum insulated water bottle, food safe stainless steel. They're talking about the problems, the features, and so on. And the images as well. Super clean, lovely. Got Chili's in the bottom. You can see they've got the branding. They show the nice little chili logo on the bottle. It just looks super professional, doesn't it? And it just makes you think, this brand looks cool, I'll buy from them. Just started by two guys like me, same age as me. Having a good listing is like essential. It is imperative. So what I'm going to do now is quickly show you what you don't do with your listing, because it's surprising how many people get this wrong. The Chinese do it very frequently, and also absolute beginners. They don't understand how important it is to have a nice looking listing. So an example of what not to do is this brand here. Brand name, Shine Me Fly. No idea what that means. It sounds like they've just gone to ChatGPT and just said, make up a brand name. Then the title, Shine Me Fly stainless steel water bottle, vacuum, like bunch of keywords. Doesn't make any sense. If I saw that, I'd be like, what the heck? And then the bullet points as well. If we kind of look at what they're saying there: drink bottle, maintains temperatures inside regardless of temperature outside, maintains temperature, keeps drink nice. It just reeks of cheap tat, doesn't it? And what's amazing is that that bottle is the same one as the Chili's one. But look how different you guys are probably thinking about the two. If I were to say to you, which one would you rather buy? I'd be surprised if people said Shine Me Fly. They probably think it's, you know, going to break, but ultimately it'll be from the same manufacturer. I can see Ali's put in capitals, Shine Me Fly. I know, it's daft, isn't it? Pictures here, example of what not to do. It's just the same picture kind of rotated, and they're talking about features that no one really cares about. Recyclable packaging, airtight, like it's not even mentioning the main feature, which is that it keeps hot drinks hot and cold drinks cold. So when you compare the two, it's night and day, isn't it? Shine Me Fly on the left at $8, doing $5,000 in revenue. Chili's at $25, doing like 80,000. It's the same bottle, right? That is the power of private labeling, and there's no better way to show it with a real life example. And it all comes down to the listing, the branding, and so on, executing everything incredibly well. So a good listing, it needs to be compelling. It needs to sell the benefits to the customer, and it needs to obviously be informative, right? And again, it's super easy to do when you know what you're doing, right? So fixing the title, this is actually something that can be done very easily, just with a bit of thought and putting in a bit of time. So we can see Shine Me Fly. They've put a bunch of random keywords, but I literally spent 5 minutes here just saying to myself, what do customers care about? How can I make it nice? How can I make it informative, and so on? So I put Drink Pal, insulated water bottle, then a divider, and then just spoke about the benefits and so on, right? And it uses all the same keywords that the other guys are using as well, which is, you know, just night and day, isn't it? And it just shows you exactly what it takes. A little bit of thought and a little bit of effort, right? So fixing the images, again, super, super easy. Look how tacky and poor that bottle looks on the left. And you can see that no branding, just looks cheap and nasty. And on the right, they've managed to improve it huge amounts by basically just using like a 3D render. So getting a graphics designer to make something look super sexy. Really, really easy. Okay, the final step. So that's what I did. I created a good offer. I made sure that my listing looked amazing. And launching and scaling on Amazon, what do you need to do? So in order to have the biggest chances of success on Amazon, you need to launch your product successfully on Amazon. And what I mean by launching is sending your product to the warehouse, and as soon as it becomes available for sale, getting as many sales as possible. And the reason we want to do that is because the more sales that you can get, and the more that you can show that Amazon wants to buy your, that customers want to buy your products, they'll reward you and they'll put you in a top ranking search position. So how can you do that? How can you make sure that people go on your product listing and they then basically start purchasing from you, right? So you need to get social proof. You need to get 3 to 4 reviews up front, and you can do that through Amazon's own review Vine program. So you can actually do that for free now, get 2 reviews. You can also seek objective advice. This is imperative. Like whenever you have a product that you want to sell, don't just think that you know best, because you'll have an emotional connection to it and you'll be biased. So always ask for other people's opinions. So we want to say to them, say to independent people, so friends, family, mentors, whoever, what do you think to this? Beat it up. Tell me, how can I improve my title? How can I make it better? Would you buy? Always do that. You should launch at an attractive price point. This is, again, a big mistake that beginners make. What they do is they basically launch at a really high price point because they've got a branding bit on it, and it's just not going to work when you're a brand new brand, if that makes sense. So you launch at an attractive price point in line with your competition, if I can say it correctly, and then you start increasing it as you start getting more sales. But in that initial launch period, right at the beginning, you want to make sure that you actually are getting high levels of conversion, so you're rewarded. And you also need to make sure that you use Amazon's advertising, right? So in order to do that, or the reason that we do that is it allows you to cheat, and I'll show you here. The kind of search page positioning looks like this. I typed in posture corrector, and you can see these top 4 listings here all say sponsored, don't they? Right? And you can see that it's a cheat code, isn't it? It's an awesome little cheat code because it means that you can appear right in front of your customers from day one and start getting sales. Now, my advice is with this pay-per-click advertising, that's what it is. You don't need to come up with your own creative. You just say to Amazon, put me in position 1, start with a low budget that will come out of your sales proceeds and gradually increase it. When you start seeing it working, you can increase it more and more, right? So another big tip of mine, and this is something that I did actually do when I launched this product, is I made use of TikTok, made use of ChatGPT, and made use of blogs. This is another big tip of mine. So this is what you need to do. Type in top 10 and then the name of your product that it is that you are looking to sell. And then find all the blogs that are saying the 16 best yoga mats, whatever, and write to them and say, we're a brand new, I'm not going to keep saying brand new brand. We're a new brand that would be really interested in featuring in your list. We think our product is better because of X, Y, Z. I did that with my new product that I came across. I think I mailed 20 people and I got 5 people responding, and they put me in their blog for free. And that helped massively with the social proof and with the launch on Amazon. So make sure that you all do that. Now, those are the 5 steps to success, right? The 5 steps that I followed. But just because you follow each of those in some way, it does not mean that you are going to see success, right? You need to make sure that you execute all of the steps to the best of your ability. I can still see people are having problems. Let me just give a moment. Just give me a sec. I'm just going to actually try and load it on my phone because the AMZScout team think that it should work. So just give me one mo. Can anyone actually tell me if they are actually watching live apart from AMZScout? Give me a moment, guys. Don't worry. If anyone is actually still watching, please do give me a 1 in the comments. I'm just going to kind of register for the book your seat. I think they're going to have to edit this and watching the replay, aren't they? So, is anybody actually still there? Like the fact that I'm getting no comments kind of implies the answer is no, apart from the AMZScout team. So I think there is a problem, but this can be edited. But you'll see. Sorry, I'm just going to try this now. Do not worry, guys. Okay, so whilst that's come through, I'm going to continue. So basically what I'm saying is all of these steps need to be executed to the best of your ability, right? Don't just think because you find a good product that that's it, you're going to see success on Amazon. Because if you don't find a supplier that can provide you with a good product to sell, then you're not going to see success, right? And if they supply something that is really low quality or whatever, then you're not going to see success, right? And even if you do find an awesome supplier, if you do a rubbish job of the branding of the listing, just like how just how Shiny Fly did, you're not going to achieve success at all, right? So make sure you implement all of these to a top tier professional standard. Now, let me remind you of how quickly things can progress if you do things the right way, right? I started May 2018, and after literally 2 years, I built a $3,500 investment into a business that had generated over $750,000. All of these guys here who have done Amazon FBA properly, they've built a brand, they've done something, you know, extremely well, implemented all the steps very, very professionally. They've achieved amazing results, right? So remember, regardless of how you felt at the beginning or even feel now, this was me before, full of doubts and negativity. And as soon as I kind of understood the steps to follow, I understood, like, it doesn't matter that I don't have a product to sell. I can go out and find one. I can use tools, right? All of those negative points, they flip on their head as soon as you kind of go through these 5-step strategies and motions and you see it does work, right? Just trust me, have confidence in yourself now and just go out and do it, right? Go and launch a product on Amazon. Take action today. There's absolutely no reason why you can't get started now. Provided that you do things right, you do things correctly, you're going to be surprised at just how quickly things will progress, right? Today is the perfect time to get involved. You've seen at the beginning of the presentation, we spoke about online shopping and how quickly things started, right? Like how quickly things are going to start progressing and so on.